Okay, good morning, everybody. Kevin Schulteis here with Church versus State. Here with a real quick update. I've done long videos already on this topic. I'm the guy that believes you can be either a church or you can be a Canadian Revenue Agency charity. You can be an agent of theirs or you can be an agent of God's and work for the church, but you cannot be both. I believe the definitions off of the CRA website itself totally disqualifies you as a church if you actually are a Bible believing and acting church. So check out those other videos. So we already know that we're presuming that you already know the difference between a church and a charity, the dangers of being a charity, the fact that the government owns 100% of your assets, and that you're under a blanket of fear that the government's going to pull your license at any moment, your registration. You're not allowed to talk about anything. You're silenced. You're a slave. We already know that if you're a charity, if you watch the other videos. So this is presuming that you're already on track with that. You understand what the Bible's about. You understand what your mission as a church, as a Christian is about, as a watchman and a witness. You understand that. And then you understand the craziness of the Charity Act. So, that being said, you also are aware of the dangers, like we said, that 100% of your assets are taxed at 100%. So part of that was that was giving me a sick feeling in the stomach going, okay, you want to know what? For the small churches, it wouldn't be as bad because you wouldn't have as many assets. Typically smaller, you don't own land and property and buildings or anything yet. It gets definitely way more expensive as soon as you have bought in yourself land or buildings, because all that money that you think is yours, that you raised for the church, you think you're being a good steward of it. You're totally not. In the fact, because all of that money is actually the government's. So if you've raised $2 million and you got your nice little church that's worth $2 million, at the end, the government, if your assets are $2 million minus a few liabilities, your tax bill will be about $2 million, which is due 366 days after your revocation notice. And if you don't pay your $2 million, the government can actually take all your assets and then sell it, fire sale it, get whatever they want for it, maybe half price, maybe $1 million or something like that. And then the directors can be potentially held liable for the remainder of the tax. So they will just totally own you and shut you down big time, right? Which is unfortunate if you want to continue on. If you just want to pack your bags and close your doors as a church, but that's not actually what I'm encouraging here. I'm actually encouraging churches to wake up, and that this being a charity is actually one of the root causes for the lukewarmness of the church and the unfruitfulness and the ineffectiveness of the church to be salt and light in Canada. So this is the main reason. But there is an interesting clause. I've been reading interesting book, this by Adam APTOWITZER, charity lawyer. They're part of, I'll put up the details online, and I've been working with a couple of other lawyers as well, charity lawyers, in some of these questions, and hopefully I'll be interviewing more of them as we move forward and give you those videos. But one of the biggest things is this massive tax bill. And one line in there, and it didn't make sense. Well, it didn't make sense. It's rarely used in the CRA. Annulment. Okay, so here's a quote. I can read it from the Canada website. I just don't have it up right now. There is a clause called an annulment, which is rarely used in CRA, but it has a very interesting effect, which actually I think might be able to save our churches across Canada probably hundreds, if not thousands of millions of dollars. Like, yes, hundreds of millions of dollars. One church, just my one church alone that I can think of, would save them $2 million. And that was a small church. Maybe medium church, because they own a bit of land. They have a $1.5 million building, right? Kind of small white picket fence type building on a hill kind of thing, right? Kind of your typical old school church kind of. I'm also part family of one of Canada's larger churches, and they have $20 million in assets, in land, right? Land. They got one big building, they got a remote building, and then I think they own a couple other pieces of land where the city may potentially build. So, if ever they need to build a church in that part of the city, they could. But they would get a $20 million potentially tax bill that they would have to pay in 1 year. So they might spend 30 years saving up for this thing, and the government owns it all. They'll tax you the one time at the full amount, and if you don't pay it, they'll take it. So the government owns you. But this annulment happens when certain circumstances come up, which is very interesting. And it would be only if the charity was registered in error. And here's the kicker. Or the law has changed, and if the organization were to apply today, it would not qualify for status. And this is part of my argument here, is the way the Canada Charity Act reads is any Bible-believing church should not ever be even allowed to register. Right? Because we need to stand up and speak against evil and promote what is good, and you're not allowed to do that as a charity. As a church, you have freedom of religion. As a charity, you do not have freedom of religion. So you actually you give up your rights, all for a tax benefit, and even that's not much of a tax benefit. And I go into arguments in the other videos. So this Bill 16 is coming up. This Bill 16 is being rammed through Parliament right now, and it's going through all kinds of things in the United States, the same kind of topic, and it is this movement to just allow anybody to say whatever they want, and I'm a male today, or I'm a female, this transgender thing, or they call it sexual expression, and they allow you to do whatever you want, right? Male and females can go into either bathroom and interrupt the privacy of the other male or females in there, and it's crazy. So if, as a church, if you are a charity, you actually have to go along with it, and you in fact agree with it, right? And if you don't agree with it, then you're in violation of the Charity Act, and you could be shut down at any moment, right? Which is pretty crazy. So here's a law that is going to be passed, Bill 16. It's past the first reading right now. If this passes, this is pretty dramatic. This may allow churches to actually ask for an annulment. It's funny because on the CRA website it says charities aren't allowed to ask for an annulment. So I don't know if that means we get a lawyer involved and they ask for an annulment on behalf of somebody, because then that church does not qualify. I think churches should have taken advantage of this clause back in 2005 when same-sex homosexual marriages kind of was allowed in Canada. And the churches did nothing because there were no churches. Most of them were actually charities. So, of course, the reason why your churches seem to go along with politics and seem to maybe not care about politics is because they are bound by an agreement that they sign to say, no, we agree with all public policy. And deep down, I know that's not true, but your leaders are doing it for the tax grab. They're doing it out of fear of money. So we got to educate all of us as people. We need to start giving donations and not caring about receipts, because the normal world, this is a plan for the normal world, that they don't have better reasons to give money to charities for the most part. So the government kind of has to bribe them with these tax loopholes and kind of, okay, you give X amount of money and we'll give you a little bit of money back, and it's kind of like a psychological game. So then you feel good, and we reduces your taxes a little bit, but we tax you high anyways, and so we'll give you a little bit of your own money back. And that's the way the world works, right? But the church works different than that. We give because we know that we're doing God's work, and it takes money to preach the message and get the message sent out everywhere and pay for resources and and facilities and assets. We know that, right? But the rest of the world doesn't. So anyway, so that was this annulment thing is really interesting, because just one church alone, I could save them $2 million if they wake up to this, because a lot of churches actually are sick and tired of being lukewarm, sick and tired of lack of leadership, blind leading the blind, being ineffective, lack of leadership, because all kinds of stuff, and they wonder why. Well, this church and charity thing is the reason why, and it's a huge component of it. So anyways, that is an amazing update, and I just wanted to give you that. So please, I'd love any of your comments, questions. Give me, contact me, Kevin at churchversusstate.ca, and I'll put the details down below in the video. You can, I would definitely appreciate if you wanted to look into any book purchases. I deal in a lot of books. I deal in a lot of merch. I deal in the selling of real gold. So these are gold cards, which is a gram of gold. You can do that, and that's pretty cool. And I highly suggest you may get in contact with this particular lawyer, Adam. I'll be interviewing him shortly on this kind of thing, and I kind of told him I'd love to be able to send a lot of work their way, because I would love nothing more than churches waking up, repenting, turning from their ways, that they've been silent and inactive to the Word of God, and they've been bowing to man and his money. And once they wake up, it's going to be awesome. I think church needs to be a vital component of governing your land. I believe everything is political. Check out my other videos. The Bible is nothing but a giant book of politics, which is just all it is governing people. The Lord wants us to have a great life and to be able to govern our thoughts, our hearts, our minds, our actions, our deeds, to be able to love Him, serve Him, give Him glory, and to love others, right? And that in itself gives glory too, because everybody else is designed in His image too, right? So, and He doesn't want anybody, He doesn't want anybody lost to be lost eternally. He's made a way. So definitely get a hold of me. Definitely love your support. If you can donate in our Patreon page, one-time donations, monthly donations, that would be great. I am not a charity, nor do I intend to be. I am I have, this will be all set up as a private corporation, and I can do and say what I want. I can close, I can do everything within the normal laws and stuff like that. And I get the freedom of speech and things like that too. So I get a bunch of benefits, and I pay my taxes. I do my tent making, which actually is a great principle in the Bible. So that being said, definitely check this out, and love to hear more from you. So comment below, and we'll go from there. Okay, blessings.